Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this week's workout, and we did arms this week. And what I always do when I do arms, I always start out with forearm superset, just to kind of get my arms and elbows warmed up, and to kind of get my forearms a little pre-exhausted. So I'll get a barbell, and I'll go ahead and I'll do some squeezes up and and I'll change my hand position a little bit just to try to kind of get some blood pumping into the forearms, or to kind of pre-exhaust them, because I don't want to ignore them completely, but I also want to do them. And then I move straight in to kind of just hammer curls, more working on the brachialis and focusing more on the top of the forearm than anything else really. And again, mainly here is because I'm trying to just pre-exhaust a little bit and get a little bit of blood flowing into the arm, especially as we have biceps coming up after this. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's kind of warmed up properly. I got a good pump going already before I start this way, and this also allows me to keep my weight in moderation, especially with some of the exercises we have coming up. I try to stay as strict as I can on form, and doing this to start really kind of helps that out. I'll do about 3 sets, maybe 4 sets of this to warm up, and then after that it's straight into the workout, and it depends whether I'm doing biceps or triceps first. This week we're doing biceps first. The first exercise that we have is dumbbell curl pyramid, and it says pyramid because the sets differ depending on how high you feel like going, kind of depending on your personal preference. As you see here, I'm only starting with 30s. The next set will be 35s, the next set after that will be 40s, and the next set after that will be 45s. And then I work my way back down. Sometimes I'll work my way back down 1 or 2 sets and then do a drop set, or I'll just work all the way back down. Pretty much going to failure every set. This is a great way to kind of get a bunch of sets in for your biceps, as well as really squeeze out some good tension on the muscle as well. Again, you don't see me really swaying a whole lot until maybe the last couple reps. But again, the goal here is to stay as strict as you can. That's why I don't need to use 70-80 pound dumbbells just to move with momentum. I'm just focusing clearly on the bicep, and then on the way down, trying to take it down nice and controlled, and working that stretch on the way down, working that negative contraction of the muscle as well, so that I'm not just getting half of the rep. That's what you'll see a lot of guys do, is curl that weight and then drop it back down, and they're losing half of the motion that way. So this way you're getting the entire motion, you're keeping your arms under tension the entire time, and really just flooding the muscles with blood at this point. And it's a very, very good way to start a workout, and will really hurt your biceps and exhaust your biceps right off the bat if that's what you're going for, just trying to kind of gorge them with blood at this point. The next exercise that I'm doing here is static cable curls. Static cable curls, the reason I call them that is, again, as you'll see, I'm now keeping my one arm static and going straight into just curls with the other arm. The reason I do this is to try to work all 3 different points of an exercise, where you have the static, the negative, the eccentric and the decentric contractions. And this way I'm really focusing on the one arm while keeping the other arm under tension as well. And then I bring them both together and I go straight into as many as I can do. For this, I will do 4 sets of this. And again, typically this is one of those more of almost a sculpting movement. It's not going to be a very powerful movement. The goal here isn't to push a bunch of weight. It's to really get a burn, really focus on flexing and squeezing the bicep each repetition, and then trying to just exhaust the muscle. We've already done some power workouts, so now we're kind of moving into the sculpting area. Again, machine preacher curls. I do this as a drop set. So I'll do 4 sets of this, but they're always a drop set. What that means is I'll do it on some heavier weights that I can only do maybe 8 to 10 reps with, and then I'll drop it down and do another 8 to 10, 12 reps, however many it takes to get to failure. Typically that's where I try to aim, is that I'm failing between 8 to 12 reps on that second set. The reason that I do this at this point in the workout is it's a machine, so it's you do lose a little bit of the stabilizer muscles, but you also get to really focus, especially with the preacher. There's not a lot of cheating that you can do on this when you have your elbows locked in like that. So it's a really good isolation movement for your biceps, really keeps them pumped up, and then really allows you to kind of get some different work done as well. So that's why I choose to do the drop sets here. So I'm doing a little bit heavier movement, trying to build a little bit of strength, and then going back in and then just trying to deplete any muscle fibers that I hadn't recruited in the previous set. And I do, like I said, I'll do about 3 to 4 sets of this depending on the feel. Again, after the sets that we've done, we don't need to do a ton of sets. We're more in the sculpting phase at this point, so trying to work that inner head of the bicep at this point is what I was really aiming for. The last thing I do is I do a burnout. Okay, so for this burnout is I just get on an incline bench, grab some lightweight, and just kind of do single arm or double arm curls until you literally cannot lift them anymore. The trick with doing these is to keep the incline pretty high, and also your arm that's not curling, you don't want to let it all the way down. You want to just keep a little bit of tension on it. You want to keep that arm a little bit flexed, so that way you're not just doing single arm, you're still keeping your muscle flexed and tight during this entire movement. It's an extremely great burnout. You'll see, especially if it's your first time doing it and you've got good form, you're really going to see some pump. But I just do this to end the bicep workout, and then I'm done with biceps at this point, and I move straight into triceps. In triceps, I always start with rope pushdowns or some sort of cable pushdown of some kind. The reason I do this is, again, just to make sure that my elbows are warmed up. I know a lot of people have elbow problems, especially who have been working out for a long time. And so taking a set or two to just kind of warm up, and then going into your heavier sets, again, kind of the same idea of the pyramid, working your way up a little bit throughout the weight throughout the sets is not a bad thing. Again, it helps you warm up, helps you kind of get used to the movement, helps you kind of get that mind-muscle connection going a little bit more than starting straight heavy off the bat. And then, like I said, as the sets go on, depending on what you're kind of trying to go for, you can move the weight up a little bit to try to get a little bit fewer reps. Again, I always try to stay between 12 and 15 reps, especially on triceps. And as you'll see here, again, the goal is the elbows are the hinge. We're not moving anything but at the elbows, so that way we're not moving the shoulders, we're not using momentum, we're just flexing the tricep and then controlling it on the way back up, and then that's the entire movement. These ones are a little bit different. This is an overhead cable extension similar to a skull crusher. The reason I do them on the cable is, honestly, I just like the feel of them, and I like to switch it up. So, some weeks I'll do regular skull crushers, some weeks I'll do these, and these I just really feel in the back of my tricep. I feel a good squeeze and a good contraction and a good burn the entire way through this exercise, and it really keeps my muscles under tension throughout the entire movement as well. That's why I really, really like this exercise. So if you haven't tried this one, it takes a minute to get used to, but you'll really, really like it once you get used to it. It's a good tricep burner right there. Next, I do dips. The reason I do dips a little bit later is because I like to put my power movements kind of towards the back of my workout or in the middle, and then kind of end with something else. But I did the machine dips today because I can do a little bit more weight. I don't have to use quite as much stabilizer, and I can just literally just kind of push that weight down. Again, the big thing here is to keep your elbows back. You want to keep them, back against. You don't want to let them flare out. The more you let your elbows flare out during dips, the more chest you're working than you are tricep, and that's the biggest thing, is we want to try to keep our triceps under tension, not our chest. We're here to work arms. When you're doing the isolation splits that I do, making sure that we're hitting the muscle that we're trying to hit is the most important thing. The last exercise that I do is overhead dumbbell presses, and I'll do, again, 4 sets. Sometimes I'll do drop sets at the end, but again, you just grab a dumbbell, 2 hands, typically a triangle pattern with your hands is the best way that I've seen to explain how to hold this. And then again, you're keeping your elbows in, so your forearms are just going straight back. Again, your elbows are your hinge. You're not moving your shoulders. You're not rocking. You're on a seated bench anyway. And so you're really just focusing on squeezing out that tricep. You're really working kind of the inside of the arm. As you can see here, it's really starting to get pumped at this point. But after you do this, guys, you're going to be ready to go. Hope you like this one. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.